Hey everyone, it's Anthony from Pretty Printed here. In today's video, I want to walk you through the process that I'm going to go through to create a very simple email alert script. So I have this API that I want to pull at regular intervals, let's say every day, and I want to check if the status of this API is okay. And the reason why I'm doing this is because my course platform that I use for my courses has an ability to let me know if one of the APIs that I created is being used. And I realized recently that it was down for like 4 months. So I want a way to know that it goes down just in case it goes down in the future. So basically I'm just going to have a script to run this every day and tell me through email if the API is running or not. So first, let me show you the API. And then I will show you the process that I will go through to actually build this. So let me create a new file. And we'll call this script.py. And I'm going to just bring in this. So this is the API link. It's on my website and it's API/version1/hooks. This isn't something that you can test directly unless you have the same course platform that I do. But if you do have the course platform, then you can try it out. But this video is mostly for, the process that I'm going through to create this seemingly simple script. So I'm going to import requests because I need to send a request to this API. And let me go ahead and install it. So pip-inv install requests. I'm also going to import some configuration. So from config, import config. So this is just a dictionary that has all of the configuration values that I'll be using in this video. So it has my password for the API, the username and password for the API, and then it has the server, the username and the password for the email that I'm going to send to. And I probably won't use this actual email, but this is an email address that I have for testing. So I'll be using this one in the video. So this is installing and I'm just waiting for it to finish. And I finally installed Python 3.7 on here. I've been using 3.5 for the longest, so I'm up to date. So pip-inv shell is what I need to activate the virtual environment that was created through pip-inv. And then I can send a request to this API. So I'll use requests.get, and the URL is the first parameter. It's going to be webhooks. And then auth is going to be username and password. So I have this config dictionary, and I have a teachable username, and then config teachable password. Okay. So I'll send a request to this. I'll save it in the variable R, and I'll just print r.text to see what actually comes up. So I'll run the script. And here I see the data that I'm interested in. So it gives me a list of all the webhooks I have. I happen to only have one at the moment. And gives me like this school ID. It gives me the number of events on this webhook, so over 2,000. And what I'm looking for is basically if this webhook is active. So since I only have one webhook, I'm only concerned with the first results. So I'll print out the JSON version of this. So JSON and then hooks, just so we can see what it looks like a little more clearly. Get rid of the other stuff. So it gives me one object here, and that ID is here. And like I said, what I'm looking for is a status. So basically the status in my case is workflow state. So print this. So I want the first results, and then I want workflow state. And we see it's verified. So basically, if it's verified, I just want to tell myself every day that my webhook is still working properly. And if it is not verified or just anything other than the word verified, then I want it to tell me in this email that it is not verified. So what I'm going to do is basically build around this. So I'll save this to a variable called status. And basically, if status is verified, I'm going to do one thing. So I'll just print OK. And if it's anything other than verified, I'm going to print not OK. So we see OK now. And like I said, if it's not verified, it's going to have a different message. I don't know exactly what the error is. I can't induce the error in the video because it requires me to do a lot of things. But I do know that this is what I'm looking for. So this is the most important part of the script. And as long as it's something other than verified, then it should work. So now I want to build in the email functionality. So I basically want to send an email to myself with the status. So to do that, I'm going to look up the Python documentation for email. And I want Python 3. Okay, so let's see. I know I'm going to be using this module, so smtplib. And let's just look at some examples. So I've used this library countless times before, but I don't use it regularly enough to remember how it works. So just coming to the documentation and looking for the examples is what I do first. If I don't find any good examples, then I look at the code. But here is one full example. So basically the parts that I don't need, like I need to import smtplib. So I'll just go ahead and do that at the top. And here what it's doing is it's just getting data from the user, so I don't really care about that. And then here it's building the message. And in this particular case, let's see. So it's starting the server with smtplib.smtp, and then it sets a debug level, and then it sends a mail. And from address, to address, and message are variables. So if I just look for SMTP, I know I need to include my email address and password somewhere. And I can also consider the SMTP SSL. So what I'll do is I'll look up a better example for this. So SMTP SSL. And let's see. Python. And let's see what Stack Overflow has to say. So let's see if they have a simpler example. So yeah, basically what they're doing is they're using SMTP SSL with the host and the port, and then they log in and then they send mail. So let's try this out. smtplib.smtp SSL. So we're going to bring that in. And I'll put it above this status thing because it's going to happen before I check the status. So I'll log in. So I'll use my configuration. Config server, or I think it's mail server. And then I also need to concatenate this. So what I'll do is I'll just have two placeholders. Okay, so I'm going to put in the mail server and the mail port. So basically the final output looks something like this. I'm using something called Hushmail to send the email. So I'm going to send the email to my Outlook, but I'm sending it from Hushmail. So that's what the login information is. So it kind of looks something like this. So smtp.hushmail.com and then 587. I just have it in the configuration just in case I want to change it easily. So that's all it looks like. And then this needs to be set to a variable. So in the example here, they're just using S, so I'll just use S as well. So it's the SMTP object. I'm going to log in, and I'm going to use the mail username and the mail password from my config dictionary in my config file. So now I'm logged in. I should be able to send a message. And here they have a way of creating an email message object. So here from text, what I'll do is I'll look up a really simple email. So Python email 3.7. And here they give you an example of sending a message. So this is pretty much all I want to do. So I'll just copy it here. So there's a subject, there's a from, and there's a to. So the to is going to be pretty printed at outlook.com. From is going to be the mail username, so config mail username. And then the subject is going to be based off of whether it's okay. So I'll just put that here for now, and I'll update it in a second. So I'm importing email.message. So nothing to install here because this is part of the Python library. And then I need to instantiate it here. There we go. And if there's anything else, I do need to quit after I send the message. So I'll just put quit down there. And s.send, let's use send message. So I don't need to worry about any text in the email. I only care about the subject because it's designed to get my attention. So webhook API is okay. Webhook API is down. So that would definitely get my attention once I get these messages. So let's see if everything looks correct. So what I'm doing here is I'm starting up SMTP-lib using SMTP SSL. I'm logging in with my username and password. I'm creating the message. From is my mail username. To is this test email that I have. The message that I have depends on whether or not the status of the API is okay or not okay. And then I'm simply going to send the message and then quit. So this is pretty much the entire idea of the script, and hopefully it works. So let's try it. I'm getting invalid syntax for this, so let's see. This is where I'm logging in, so it looks like this part is wrong. It's missing a closing parenthesis. So just running it, and if I get nothing, that's good. If I don't get anything, that's bad. So let's see. I get this SSL unknown protocol error, and it's happening when I create the SMTP SSL object here. So let's see. This should be giving me the right output, but to test this, what I'll do is I'll just put it directly. So I'll say smtp.hushmail.com and then port 587. And just looking at this, I can kind of see what the issue is. So let's see, let's try that with no port. Okay, so I didn't get any errors there, so I think it was the port. So if I go over to Outlook and refresh, hopefully I get a message. So I don't know how to refresh this. Okay, there we go. So I see webhook API is okay. There's no body to the message because I don't have a body to the message, but this is exactly what I wanted. And just to test out the other case, like I said, I can't actually get the webhook to fail unless I go through a bunch of steps. So what I'll do is I'll just change this verified and I'll remove the D so we can see the other email getting sent. So there we go. I see the webhook API is down. So that's basically the script. So let me bring this back to being a config value. So config mail server, just like that. And then I'll test it one more time to make sure it works. and then I should see webhook API is okay. So there we go. Once again, it's okay. So now I want to get this on Python Anywhere. So I'm going to upload the files. So I'll create a new directory, API alert. And I could have used Git for this, but since I only have 2 files, I don't mind uploading them. So let's see. Config. Well, actually 3 files or 4 files. So upload config, pip file, okay, so there we go. I have the 4 files there. And I already have a virtual environment set up on here. So I'm just going to use the virtual environment that I have instead of creating a new one. So I really don't need the pip files. So let me just go ahead and delete them. This isn't a standard project. It's just a simple script. So for the tasks, what I'll do is I'll copy this. And I just copied it into a different, well, let me put it in here. So this first part is my virtual environment, and the second part is the script. So script.py, and I'll just remove that, and I'll create a new task. So this one is one that I want to stop. And right now it's 8:12 UTC. So I'm going to schedule this to run at 8:13 UTC. So right now I have 3 emails. And if this works correctly, in 1 minute, it should run the script automatically and then send me an email telling me the status. So let's just refresh this. So it's 8:13 now. Still no email. So maybe it failed, maybe it didn't. So let's look at the log. It's telling me it hasn't been run yet. I refresh. Still hasn't run. I think it skipped over it. So what I'll do is I'll set this to 8:15. So 8:15, so I just have to wait a few seconds and we'll see if I can get this to appear. So it should be running because this fails, the log fails when it's actively running. So let's just wait until this time updates to 8:15 and hopefully everything will work correctly. Okay, so still 3 emails here. So let's see if there's any issue in the log and just have to wait for the log to finish writing. And just waiting. So I either want to see an email here to know that the script is working, or I want to see the error log to see what the issue is. So I'm just trying to wait until the log returns. So let's go back to task, hit this, and the log doesn't want to cooperate with me. So maybe it's running, maybe not. Okay, it's been a minute. Okay, there we go. So I get this error and it's giving me an error when it comes to sending the email. So it's telling me about like max retries exceeded with the URL. So I can't connect to a proxy. So this is actually the request to my site that's not working correctly. So tunnel connection failed. So let's see. This suggests that SSL isn't working correctly on Python Anywhere. So let me see if there's something that I'm missing. Okay, I see what the issue is. So when sending to certain Python Anywhere, or sending from certain Python Anywhere accounts, when you're using a free account like I am in that instance, you can only send to a whitelist of sites. You can't send to any site on the internet. So my site is basically any site on the internet. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to log into one that I do pay for. So let me just do this in the other window. So stuff like this is pretty typical to handle. It's always good to experience errors because, you know, that's how you know things aren't, or you don't have a proper understanding of something. So I'll log in over here. Okay, so I'll bring this over. So this is my other account that I actually pay for, so I can run as many tasks as I want. So what I'll do is I'll just do a similar thing here. Is I'll bring in the script part and I'll do API alert slash script.py. So I'll use the same virtual environment. And I'll just save that to the clipboard. Okay, so I need to upload the files first. Config and script. I'll go back to tasks and I'll create a task for it. So it's 8:19 UTC. So I'll just do 8:20. Create. There I have the other one. And once the clock gets to 8:20, I should be able to see an email if everything works. So just waiting, I'll close out the other things that I'll have. I'll actually remove the files from the other Python Anywhere that I have open. And I'll start that back up in my other window. Okay, so let's see if this has run. So it's telling me the task hasn't been run yet. I still have 3 emails, so I know it hasn't sent me anything yet. So hopefully in just a moment, it's going to send an email or at least give me a different error than I experienced last time. So let's see. There's nothing in the log yet. Okay, so this is a better error. So now it's just telling me no module name request. So that's pretty easy to deal with. So my project is the virtual environment. So let me just go ahead and install requests on that virtual environment. So virtual, my project bin activates, and then pip install requests. Okay, So now I'll go back to tasks and change the time to 8:22. And let's see if it will work this time. So that should have been the only library that needed to be installed, because SMTP-lib and email are a part of the Python standard library. So 8:22, still have 3 emails. Let's see if I get another one, and there we go. So I just got the 4th email. Webhook API is okay. So now I know that the task is working. Took 7 seconds, which is a long time, but since it only runs once a day, I'm not too concerned about it. But that's basically the idea. So I got this very simple script working. It pulls the API. It gets something specific out of the API, the workflow state. It logs into my mail server. It sends an email with the status, and then it quits after it sends the email. So I'm able to get these email messages every day to tell me if I need to go in and fix the API or not, because the webhook itself can only tell me one side of it. So I have 2 sides to this API. One side, I get the errors, but I will never know if the webhook has trouble connecting to it unless I check this API, which I'm doing here. So that's pretty much it for this video. I just want to show you the process that I will go through to create something very simple like this. And since this is something that I actually needed, I figured it'd be a decent video to make. It took a little longer than I wanted, but with anything that you make, you're going to run into some issues. So it's just something to be prepared for it, and just have to be willing to handle anything that comes up. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions about what I did, if you have any questions on how to do something similar, you can ask me in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please subscribe. So thank you for watching, and I will talk to you next time.